Okay, Fab, thank you for yesterday, Ed. So we're just going to start off with kind of a generic question talking about your research process. So kind of what led you to do this, why you came to that topic, and how you engaged with the literature during that process.
So initially, just from day one, I knew I wanted to make an autobiographical comedy show about grief. And this immediately posed several issues, one of which was being, how can I make such a heavy topic palatable for an audience that may struggle with these issues in their own life? And immediately from there, I found Ellie Harrison and her collection of 7 projects named the Grief Series. Her work is often characterized by a playful and provocative approach to difficult topics. One of which of her projects was named The Etiquette of Grief, where she aimed to create a safe space where notions of bereavement and grief can be discussed openly between herself and the audience. And this idea of creating a safe space was vital to my process, both for my safety and the audience's safety. If I'm not careful, the show may have come off quite distasteful, and I didn't want that. So one of the ways I decided to create a safe space was through the use of comedy. Just give me a moment, please. So my initial inspirations for a comedy aspect were the likes of Ugly Bucket with their show Good Grief, and the Russian clown Slava and his physical work. In particular, I was inspired by Good Grief and the incredibly playful nature of the show, while discussing an incredibly heavy subject, both for other people and for them, the performers personally. And I loved the way they were able to just get such raw emotion out of some quite silly, playful, physical work. The show Good Grief was made as a dying wish of a close friend of theirs. So for them, the show was part of their journey through grief and part of their grieving process. And that was something that I wanted to explore in my work. I wanted to be able to show my journey through grief, and I wanted positive change to be coming from this performance. And from the idea of trying to create a positive change through performance, I decided to look into laughter therapy. Raymond Moody has a quote that is, "Laughter therapy uses laughter for the purpose of treatment to promote leading a desirable life by keeping, recovering, and preventing psychological, social, and mental functions through spontaneous and non-spontaneous laughter." It has been proven that laughter can provide both physical and mental healing. And then from this idea of laughter providing healing, I ended up looking into autobiographical therapeutic performance, which is a particular form of drama therapy that uses autobiographical performance. And drama therapist Susanna Penzick has stated that through translation of their issues into dramatic forms and stage language, we can assist them to work on these mechanisms towards change and transformation, development of resilience, and personal growth. And this idea of being able to heal through an autobiographical performance fascinated me and set the basis for my argument. So when it came to making the show about grief, I knew I wanted to touch upon my own personal experiences. However, I also knew if the show became too self-indulgent, it would have the opposite to my desired effect and may become off-putting and may become what would be known as a trauma dump. This leads back to where I wanted to create a safe space where I can express these feelings and just to express these feelings, yeah. So to try and create this a safe space, I began with a universally known idea of grief being the 5 stages of grief model that is used to generalize the different feelings that come with grief and to sort of provide an understanding to people going through the journey that when they might not know how to comprehend exactly what they're feeling.
So, Ed, using your performance, how can you reflect on how you created that safe space from some of your theories?
So, I think one of the ways I wanted to immediately create a safe space was through this use of comedy. And
can you elaborate on that use of comedy? What do you mean by that? What use of comedy and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
If it helps, you can pick a specific moment from your performance to kind of amplify what it is that you're talking about.
So, the first one the main one that stuck out for me was the parody song of PAMP, but making it about denial and sorry, I'm just grab a page for that. Okay. So the reason I created a parody version of a song PAMP was to get the audience comfortable with a song that they already know and remove the pressure off of them and through the comedy of both my physicality and in the lyrics has helped provide the audience with a sense of relief, as there was no immediate negative connotation while I'm discussing these feelings of denial and death, essentially.
Great. So you've got on your bibliography, you've got Goffman's The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life.
Yes.
How was that useful in your research process?
So, grief can create like an altered sense of self and a distorted perception of oneself for many reasons, such as depression or anxiety that can come from the bereavement and can cause the individual to behave in ways not typical of their character. Irving Goffman has stated that with the individual starting out with one kind of involvement in the performance he is required to give, and then moving back and forth several times between sincerity and cynicism before completing all the phases and turning points of self-belief for a person of his station. And I found this related to my performance as I begin with the idea, the involvement of being distraught that I, myself, have died. And I then flip between these sincere moments where I'm saying these very real things. For example, in the PAMP song, I begin talking about denial in quite an upbeat way with some silly, playful movements. And then, as it goes on, and as I get further into discussing these things, you can see my character. It has a physical effect on me as the performer. And Goffman has also stated that a cynical individual may delude his audience for what he considers to be their own good or for the good of the community. And with myself, my goal was to delude the audience with the comedy in order to lessen the emotional reaction they may have when confronted with my ideas of death and grief. I was playing a very heightened performance version of myself, intentionally being quite comical and stupid, again, both to protect me and to protect the audience from these deeper meanings.
Is there anything else you want to ask before you leave? You don't have to. Just for now.
Yes, I do. So, this show was a really important part of my journey of dealing with grief, and I've struggled over the years with trying to vocalize these feelings. So trying to put this comedic spin on it has been a really nice way of being able to actually process what is going on and try to visualize and physicalize what I've been feeling this whole time. For example, like with the boxing segment was a representative of the anger stage of grief, where I am in a boxing match against my own personal pent-up rage, and it is winning, essentially. Oh, and with the very last section of the show, I shared a spoken word text that was derived from my own journey, and I used it as a way to really, very literally vocalize what I've been feeling, and try to show that throughout this journey I have been able to process all of these things and come to terms with these big changes in my life. But throughout the whole time, I still am trying to put a jovial tone on it with such lines as to put your smile on your face and that person in a vase, just to, again, just to keep myself safe throughout it, I'd say.
Great. Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you.